They're coming toward the top of the stretch. Rule number 6 and Abby Fuller have the lead as they turn for home. Half Wed and John Velasquez trying to get by. These two into the final furlong. Rule number 6 keeps that lead. Half Wed on the outside, still trying to get by. It is Rule number 6 and Half Wed clear from economic recovery as they come down to the wire.
Jockey Abigail "Abby" Fuller, age 52, recently returned to riding after a long absence. On January the 15th, 2012, she rode her first winner at Gulfstream Park, which became another milestone in a career that has its roots in her childhood when she would visit her father, Peter Fuller's racehorses.
We grew up as kids riding, taking riding lessons, and I definitely was the one who really loved it. The horses were really special for me. We would go to the farm. Runnymede Farm was right in Northampton, New Hampshire. So we would go see the baby horses.
Peter Fuller owns and breeds his own racehorses, and one of his brightest stars was Dancer's Image, who crossed the wire first in the 1968 Kentucky Derby.
Abby really got started at the Derby when we won, and Bobby Usry rode, and she fell in love with him. That was cute.
The first race that I really remember seeing is the Derby, when Dancer's Image won. I mean, I was hooked. I already loved horses. Then Bobby Usry became my first crush. I wasn't into boys, but I was into Bobby Usry, the jockey of Dancer's Image. I think I followed him everywhere. I was like his little shadow. I remember thinking, I'm gonna win the Derby someday. And I didn't actually realize that women weren't riding at that time. Never really occurred to me. A couple of years later, the first women did ride. I read all about them. I mean, Barbara Jo Rubin and Diane Crump, and I was like, oh, well, now I really am gonna do this.
In a controversial decision, Dancer's Image was disqualified from the Derby win a week after the race, but that had no effect on Abby's decision to become a jockey.
The first guy that I worked for in Ocala had some horses for my dad, and he said, "You're not gonna make it." And they had this little filly that was tough. She would buck and she kept dropping me. Like the fourth time I was on the ground, I'm kind of looking at him like, "Will you get on her?" He goes, "You want to be a jockey?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Get back on."
Abby came to prominence in the 1980s as the regular rider of Mom's Command, also owned and bred by Peter Fuller. Together, they would win the New York Filly Triple Tiara, which consists of 3 Grade 1 races at Belmont Park. Mom's Command would later be voted into Thoroughbred Racing's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, she was special. You got lucky in New England. You might have finished second to her somewhere along the line. That was a good thing, you know. Abby she rode with the best, and she beat the best, but she was sitting on the best. That's got a lot to do with it, you know.
The fun of it was that she was kind of cool about it, and I was very worried.
Dad looked like he's gonna throw up, really. And I kind of punched him on the arm. I said, "Dad, relax, we're gonna win." She was amazing. And we got tested, and obviously, yeah, I was a pretty new rider. I know a lot of people thought Dad was crazy. She was amazing. She was a speedball that could go 1.5 miles. But it was a little bit like, of course she won it. I knew she was gonna win it.
Abby continued to ride and win races throughout the 1980s and 90s, but things slowed down as she got older and began having children of her own. For a while, she tried her hand at training.
Really, I love getting on the horse. I trained, but it was not quite my thing. I did well. I did enjoy it, but some of the decisions and you know, even claiming horses was not really my thing. I didn't love it as much.
After being away from racetrack life for a while, she was drawn back in when she was invited to participate in the 2nd annual Lady Legends race, a benefit race featuring an elite group of retired female riders.
And I really wasn't planning to come back to the track until I got in the Legends race. I did that, did get fit, had a great time, fantastic. Brought the kids, and my youngest is 11, Michaela, and she probably had not seen me ride much, especially not that she remembered.
She finished second, and we both got a kick out of that. But I had no idea that she wanted to go on from there.
My dad had a filly over here at Calder that had run once, and the trainer really didn't have room for her, and Dad said, go look at her, see if you want to play around with her. And I did. I was kind of entertaining it because the race in Maryland, I had felt good and felt like, wow, I can't believe I didn't get really tired. I felt good riding. I switched my stick in the race. I said, you know, I'm 52, and they're like, so? You know, my son was like, yeah, you want to do it, you should do it. I even remember telling Dad, well, I'm going to ride this filly. He's like, great, okay. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to do this.
That was just great and a huge surprise because we didn't really know what to expect.
Her first race, we all came running out to see, wow, there's Abby on the horse again. So I knew nothing about the racing, except for the stories that she told us of when she was younger and all the pictures and trophies she had in her house. A lot of us are saying, oh my gosh, it's like our child getting on the horse. Yeah, hi, you know, we're waving to her like, you know, she was one of our kids or something, and she got on the horse and she raced, and then we have never screamed so loud in our lives.
Like every jockey, Abby has to deal with the risk of riding, something that came to the forefront when she was involved in a spill at Gulfstream on December the 16th, 2011.
I had to go to the emergency room. My nose was bleeding. They saw some pretty ugly bruises, and had to have a little piece of ear glued. It's different. I mean, I'm not a kid anymore. You hit the ground, it's always a little hard, and the older you get, it's harder.
It isn't easy. I take my hat off to her. Brought up the 3 kids and didn't ride for 9 years, and here she goes again, and she's game. She isn't a, she's game in a lot of the boys I know.
Abby's next big race will be when she teams up with Trip for AJ, a half-sister to AJ's Hot Mambo, in the 2012 Sunshine Millions Filly and Mare Turf at Gulfstream Park. She has ridden Trip for AJ to 2 in-the-money finishes in her last 2 races, both stakes.
Every time I see someone that hasn't seen her in a while, the first thing I tell them is, you've got to go to the race. You've got to see her. It is the best thing you'll ever do. It is the most exciting and exhilarating thing that you'll ever do.
I think she's the type of person that's very determined, and once she decides that she wants to do something, that's it. But I'm thrilled every time Abby gets up there. I think that's great.
I think she'll do it until someone tells her she has to stop. I don't know if she'll stop.
I think she's good for the business because everybody likes her. Everybody likes her. She's, you know, and she likes what she does, and she's always smiling.
None of this is planned, and this is a real present moment thing, day by day. It feels good. Do it. It's all been like a little unexpected, and just keep kind of go with the flow.